California Representative Adam Schiff has found himself in a Twitter war with the president today, even before the House Intelligence Committee voted to release a Democratic rebuttal to last week's GOP memo on the Russia investigation.
He spoke to us from the Capitol Rotunda in Washington just a little while ago about that and other issues.
So let's talk specifically about what is in the Democrat memo that you would like to be released. What can you say about that, and what do you want the public to know?
Sure. Well, the primary problem with the Republican memo, the Nunes memo, is that it omitted a lot of information that was presented to the FISA court and therefore was deeply misleading and inaccurate. That was certainly the conclusion of the FBI and the Department of Justice, as well as our own conclusion. So in our Democratic response, we've set out a lot of the background information that was presented to the FISA court so that people can see in context this whole application and how misleading the GOP memo was. The GOP memo wasn't intended to be accurate. It was intended to be an indictment of the FBI. It's a tactic I saw when I was a prosecutor in Los Angeles with the U.S. Attorney's Office. When the facts are very incriminating against the defendant, you try to put the government on trial. And as Bob Mueller's investigation has progressed and got closer and closer to the president himself, there was a rising sense of panic in the White House and on the Hill that's resulting in these efforts to distract and deflect attention.
Talking about the Twitter war going on between you and the president today, the president calling you out by name on Twitter. What's going on here?
Well, this is the second time the president has attacked me on Twitter. First calling me sleazy, that was 6 months ago. Now calling me little, which, you know, seems like an improvement over sleazy. So I don't know, it's also confusing. But the reality is this is what the president does. When he perceives people to be a threat to him, he attacks them in very vile terms. It's, I think, really demeaning to the office of the president. And sadly, we've had to acclimate to the president of the United States with these kind of childish insults. It really is beneath the dignity of the office.
But he's saying you are illegally leaking confidential information, that you're going to meetings and leaking information. What do you say to that?
Well, what the president is referring to there is when his son testified before our committee and refused to answer questions about conversation that the son had with the father that produced that false statement about the Trump Tower meeting with the Russians. We called him out on it. Our position is, well, we don't talk about the specific information witnesses give us in committee. We do reveal when they refuse to answer questions. We don't let them say publicly they're fully cooperating and then privately say, I'll refuse to answer questions. So we called him out on that.
Congressman, we'd like to ask you, take a little turn, talk about the stock market and the wild swings that we've seen at the end of last week, including today. President Trump has taken credit for bringing jobs back to America, for helping reach the new highs that we've seen, and then we're seeing this wild swings. What do you make of this?
Well, I think many thought that the market couldn't continue to go up, that it was on this kind of a sugar high. I don't know whether this is that correction that people have been waiting for, or whether it's going to usher in a new period of uncertainty and volatility in the market. It's really hard to say. Obviously, it's alarming to people who have their savings in the market and their hopes for their, college plans for their kids. But the bigger challenge, I think, facing many Americans are those who aren't in the market at all and who are still very much struggling around the country. And little or nothing that this president has done has really helped them.
The president's team saying they're focusing on the long-term economics. All right, Congressman Adam Schiff, thank you so much. We appreciate you taking time to